as we continue through Proverbs, made it to Proverbs 6, talking about kind of taming the tongue, which is 1 week off of where we were in James.
Right.
Kind of said, don't tell lies, don't be deceitful. One of the ways we kind of work on speaking correctly is by speaking less. Mm-hmm. And then the opposite of speaking deceitful is sometimes you need to tell the truth,
right,
when it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
So really nice application there and convicting for many of us people pleasers like me who maybe don't like saying the hard thing.
Yeah.
But had you had more time, where would we go?
Well, I've been just reflecting since Sunday morning about kind of the point that we ended with, speaking the truth in love. And speaking the truth in love has a lot to do with loving our neighbor as ourselves. It's working toward the greatest good of our neighbor. And as I was thinking about it, one of the things that I didn't really mention explicitly, but something that I think people in our community, including myself, have a real issue with is how do we talk about people when they're not present? Mm-hmm. Now, it's inevitable that that's going to happen, right? I mean, you need to do some of that in order to function. But I think a lot of us are careless in talking about other people when they're not present. And one of the things that I wish I had more time to kind of flesh out is something that I try to do. But when I am talking about someone, I want to be talking about the best version of that person. I want to be talking very positive about people. I want to be building them up, lifting them up, whether I'm in their presence or whether I'm not in their presence. And so that's just something that needs some intentionality. And also I was thinking, there are some cases, not everybody likes me, right? And I know that, I think it's likely anyway, that there are people that when they're not in my presence, the way they talk about me maybe isn't the most flattering way. And when it comes to those people, it takes some willpower to hold the line. And you know what? I'm just not going to descend to that. I am still going to talk about that person as an image bearer of God, someone who's loved by God. I'm going to focus on qualities. I'm going to focus on virtues. I am going to focus on the best that person has to offer. And that's kind of my rule of thumb that I try to stick to. I want to talk positive about everyone, whether I'm in their presence or whether I'm not in their presence.
What do you say to the person who hears that and says, that doesn't sound like the last part of the sermon, which is sometimes you got to say the hard truth. If you're just talking about the best version of somebody, we're going to ignore maybe some realities that need to be discussed.
Well, I think that's two separate issues. The one issue is when you're having a conversation with someone and someone else gets brought up. Mm-hmm. I want to focus on the positive because I'm not face to face with the person that's being talked about, right?
You're not saying the hard truths about somebody when they're not there.
The hard truth is a Matthew 18 principle type of thing,
sure.
And that's the beauty of how Scripture kind of interprets itself. And so you can kind of weave through this whole dynamic of when you're talking to people and when you're talking about people and how you should be behaving. And Matthew 18 gives us that principle of speaking hard truth face to face with someone and the process by which we should do that.
And that is maybe a roundabout way of trying to give us an idea of what speaking the hard truth is for. Mm-hmm. why would we say that that's loving somebody? It's only loving somebody if it's affecting a positive change.
Right.
I mean, it's convicting
Or
them of
encouraging a
problem.
positive change.
Right, yeah. And you're not accomplishing that if you're not having that conversation with the person.
Right.
Now there might be, unique situations where maybe amongst elders some of those things would need to be discussed without a person present, with a counselor or an officer of the law.
Sure.
Where you're talking to people who are helping you say the hard things, but as a general rule, most of us are not doing that.
Right.
We're just
Right.
having conversations about people and saying whatever we want.
Yeah,
And that's
well,
a taming the tongue issue.
And see, that's the thing. It's not even like it's always malicious. Mm-hmm. But I notice it more and more. When I'm having conversations with people, when you venture across the line into gossip. And it's not that somebody doesn't love the person that they're talking about or anything. It's kind of just carelessness, making stories colorful, interesting. It's messy. It's messy. And so it requires a lot of intentionality. And like you said, we're going to be talking about that next week in James, Taming the Tongue. And, James has some pretty strong, harsh words about what kind of damage we're able to do with our words. And I don't think that many of us really understand the gravity of the words that we speak, the importance of the words that we speak, and the posture with which we speak them, right? Being positive toward people, giving them the benefit of the doubt, advocating for people when they're not there present to advocate for themselves. It's important in the Christian community.
Mm-hmm. For the person who wants to be better at not gossiping, or and maybe it's not even gossip what we're talking about now, but the good advice from the sermon, from the text, is talk less.
Sure.
What advice do you give someone who says, I'd really like to do that, I'm finding that kind of hard?
Right.
What helps me get from 10,000 words a day to 8,000 words a day?
Yeah. I think it starts by just kind of doing an experiment with yourself. Like how much unnecessary talk do we engage in? Now, we're relational people. We want to be able to communicate, but sometimes I wander into your office and just kind of want to talk about stuff that really isn't urgent, really isn't necessarily important. And sometimes I walk out of your office after talking to you for a few minutes. It's not like we talked about anything that was damaging or anything malicious or anything, but I walk out and I think, what, I just kind of bothered him for 4 or 5 minutes, and I don't know. So it's just kind of monitoring what the content of your speech is, and how much of it is necessary, useful, upbuilding, and how much of it is just kind of killing time. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I know some people who just desire depth of relationship that's just, I guess, shows a little bit more self-awareness than most people. And these people have communicated to me, I don't want to put myself in situations where I'm just talking with people about surface stuff, and it's not like, it's just, they just desire a depth of connection and a depth of communication that goes beyond, hey, did you hear that it's going to be below zero the entire week next week? Not that it's evil to talk about the weather, but just if you're not really trying to connect with someone, then why are you kind of going through the motions of having a conversation? Mm-hmm. So, that too. Like there are people in your life where you could really dig down and deepen relationships, and maybe there's some other people in your life that, maybe you shouldn't be going out of your way to,
Yeah.
engage.
It is interesting how speaking less, not only, so we had the two sides of the coin on Sunday. One is deceitful speech. I want to avoid that. And the other is truth telling. We want to be better at that. So something to move away from and something to move toward. It's funny how speaking less not only helps you avoid the deceitful stuff. I mean, that's kind of obvious. If you're speaking less, you're being deceitful less. It seems, in my experience, also to allow you to have deeper, sometimes harder conversations. What I mean is, by way of story, I was a youth pastor that left this area a while back and was going to start at another church in a different state. And he said, if you would do it all again, what advice would you give yourself? And I thought about that for a long time, and I thought, I think I would tell myself not to come in and be the fun guy. Now, there is something to like being relational and being approachable.
Sure.
And that's a good thing. But then you think about, I'm thinking about middle school, high school students, but anyone in a church, when you're dealing with something hard and you need to talk to somebody about something hard, am I going to go talk to the goofy guy about it?
Right. The goofy guy who's always just kind of chattering and being entertaining.
Yeah. Probably not.
Right.
I might go talk to the guy who's introspective.
Right.
And really thoughtful with his words, and he doesn't talk much, but when he talks, it matters.
Sure.
Now you got to weigh being relational. You got to know about people's days and their lives and be approachable. That does matter. But also speaking less, in my mind, sometimes gives people the opportunity to be that person who talks about matters of discipleship.
Right.
And it's weird how that works, but
yeah. People who make their words count are people that others want to get wisdom from.
right.
Maybe there's something to that.